Hello, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me here this morning on Narcissism 101 Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday morning so far. Wow, I can't even believe that we're 2 days away from the weekend already. The weeks are going by fast. In fact, this summer's going by pretty fast. We're already in August. But thank you so much for being here. And if you're new to this channel, we appreciate having you more. Thank you so much. Before we get into what we're going to talk about today, if you would like a one-on-one session, please email me, paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or you can send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out whether the person you're dealing with is in fact a narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out to me. Just want to mention, as I do in all my videos, if you want to call, please send a text to the number and let me know your name. Let me know that you've been watching some of my narcissism content, and then I'll be willing to help you. But if you just call me, I may just block the number just because I just don't answer from random numbers. There are a lot of predators out there, and we need to be careful who we give our information to, especially in this day and age. So, without further ado, I have a really good one for you guys today. And it's something that I haven't actually spoken about on my channel. And that is narcissist selective memory and selective hearing. We are going to talk about the narcissist selective memory and selective hearing and how damaging and how very dangerous it actually is and how challenging it is to have to deal with a narcissist selective memory and selective hearing. So I was going to actually make a video on both of them separately, but I figured that I might as well talk about them together because there's different nuances to both, but they're both very similar. So I thought, why not just put them into one video? So that's what I'm going to do. So, narcissist selective memory and selective hearing. Before we get into talking about that, what exactly do we mean by the narcissist selective memory and selective hearing? When we talk about narcissist selective memory and selective hearing, what we're talking about is when narcissists pick and choose what they want to remember and they pick and choose what they want to hear. Now, I'm not trying to say by any means that somebody who, chooses not to, remember something and moves on from something. I'm not trying to say that that person's a narcissist or somebody that, gets disrespected and chooses not to, deal with that thing or want to hear it, that they're a narcissist. It's not what I'm trying to say at all. I just don't want people to get the wrong idea of what I'm trying to say. What I am trying to say is that when a narcissist, when we're talking about a narcissist selective memory and selective hearing, first of all, we have to remember that narcissists always have a different motive than we do, right? Their motive is completely different. They everything they do is for bad and everything we do is for good, right? But when it comes to a narcissist selective memory and selective hearing, when it comes down to their selective memory, they pick and choose what it is that they want to remember, and whatever it is that they don't want to remember, they use that to abuse the other person. So, for example, let's just say that you and the narcissist, and you didn't know they were a narcissist, but let's say that you guys talked about a vacation that you guys wanted to take or wanted to go out on a date or something, and you guys made the date. You guys talked about it together. You guys put it in your calendars, and so you would think that you guys were supposed to remember that. At least you thought. But then come to when the date happens, they say, "Oh, I don't remember saying that. I don't remember that happening. We were supposed to do it next month." But when in fact you guys said, you guys put it in your calendar, and then the narcissist is acting as if that didn't actually happen. Now the truth is, they know that that actually happened. They know that you guys set the date. They know the date of that, vacation you're supposed to go on or that date you guys are supposed to go on. They know exactly what that's about. But the thing is that they're being selective in the sense that they're choosing not to remember it to punish you, right? They're choosing not to remember it so that they can watch you go crazy to try to prove that that date actually happened. And you'll be getting evidence. You'll be pulling out your phone, pulling out your calendar, and you'll say, "Yes, this is what happened. This is what we discussed." And they'll say, "Nope, that's not true." And then now they're watching you go crazy to prove it, and this is filling them up with supply. Now it's the same with the narcissist selective hearing, right? They choose to, hear what they want to hear, and then what they will do is they know what they heard, and they know what you said. But the thing is that they'll use it to abuse you, right? They'll use it to twist it so that they can pick and choose what they want to hear, and then the things that they don't want to hear, that they're gonna put them away until a later date. But the things that they want to hear, they will pick them out, and then they will manipulate them and twist them to suit their own narrative, right? So for example, let's say that you and the narcissist were having a discussion, and let's say that you wanted to confront them about something that you didn't appreciate that they did, for example. And I did this with my ex-wife many times, where she would do things that I deemed disrespectful, and I would sit her down, and like a normal grown adult, I would sit her down and have a conversation with her. I would say, hey, I didn't appreciate what you said or what you did. I think that you owe me an apology. And then her response would be, she would either put on the fake tears and start crying, or she would blame me and say, if you didn't do this, I wouldn't have done that. And then it would become more about her and not about me. And then she would choose to hear from what I said, and then she would twist it, and then she would make it seem as though what I said was not actually what I said, right? So this is what narcissists do, right? And the reason why they do this is, again, for the reason that they want to cause chaos, confusion, and control. They're causing chaos in the sense that they're choosing what they want to remember, and so that they can watch you go crazy to prove what actually happened. And they're choosing what they want to hear to twist it, so that now you are trying to prove what actually happened, and now it's creating chaos between the two of you, and it's also causing confusion. And now you're confused, because now you're trying to figure out if you're going crazy. And 99% you are not going crazy. The narcissist is trying to gaslight you so that, they can control you, right? Because chaos, confusion, and control. Now they have control over you, right? Now they get you now they get you back under their control, right? Because that's what narcissists want ultimately. That's what they thrive off of. They thrive off of being able to control as many people as they can, right? Now, the question that many people are going to ask me is, so Paul, if the narcissist is choosing to select from their memories what they want to, and they're choosing to select from their hearing what they want to, how exactly do I deal with, a person who's doing this to me, right? That's a great question, and I have a great answer for you. The answer to that question is, you want to, you say your piece, but then you disengage completely, right? Because narcissists, what they're looking for is they're looking for your reaction, right? They want to get a reaction. They do all this to get a reaction out of you, right? They want to get you to react just so that they can create chaos and so that they can confuse you, right? Because narcissists love to play games with people. They love to play their manipulation games, right? That's what makes them different from psychopaths and sociopaths, where they just go straight in for the kill and they just destroy, right? Whereas narcissists, they love to play games, right? Because they love to play games because it gives them supply, for one. And the second thing is that it makes them feel good about themselves, because it makes them feel as though they got one over on someone. And that's what they love, to know that they got over on somebody, that they're doing something that the other person doesn't know about, right? That's why they have selective memories, where they select what they want to remember, right? And then the rest of the stuff they just throw away. They throw away. Or if they don't throw it away, they use it and they twist it and they bring it back up at a later date. And then the other person's now confused, because they're thinking that the narcissist and them have moved on and they've figured out a solution, when the narcissist, they haven't gotten over it. And the thing with narcissists, and this is what makes their selective memory and hearing very dangerous, is that many times what they'll do with this selective memory is that they'll bring up that thing, and they will hold a grudge. They will hold on to it, for the rest of their life, which is also known as, I think an influencer said it, known as wound collecting, right? And what that means is that the narcissist isn't letting go of that very particular thing that you guys thought you guys moved on from, right? And that's what narcissists need to do, right? And they do this because they want control. They do this because they want the other person to feel as though they're going crazy, like they're losing their minds, like they're confused, right? Because narcissists love confusion, right? They love everything that has to do with confusion because they know that when they're causing confusion, they know that that person's gonna go crazy because they do this to people every single day, right? And they figure that if it's working for that on that person, then it's gonna work with this person and the next person and the next person. Because narcissists believe that they're clever. They believe that that people will never figure out what it is that they're doing until someone ultimately does, right? There's a reason why there's that saying that goes, it's all fun in games until someone gets hurt, right? And that's usually the narcissist, right? They end up getting hurt by getting figured out by their games being figured out by somebody who they didn't think was going to figure out their games. In my situation, when I came close to figuring out my ex-wife what her games were, all that came down to it was I was just looking for her to be accountable, right? To say sorry, to apologize for hurting me in the ways that she did, right? For to actually go and get some help. Right, I actually wanted her to go get help, to go to rehab or something like that, because I didn't believe that all the counseling and all the seeing the psychiatrist and everything like that, I didn't believe that those were helping, because it seemed as though every time she went to go see those people, things just got progressively worse and worse and worse. Because you would think that when someone goes to counseling and goes to see psychiatrists or therapists or whatever, that things start to slowly improve, right? But they slowly improve, but then they slowly start going back. They start going backwards, and now you, the victim, in that case me, I was always confused because I didn't understand why it is that it seemed as though she was improving, but then she would just go right back to what she was doing before, and that was ruining our marriage, our relationship, right? And so I actually wanted her to go get help. I said, I believe it would be good if you went and got some help, went to rehab or something. And, I would stay. I wouldn't leave. I would stay, to be supportive. And, I would want that. And I believe that, if you get help, that things would go better for you if you went and got some actual help. Right. And I said, if you decide you don't want to get help, I don't believe that this marriage, it's worth it that we continue to be married. Right, that's what I said, and then out of that came her just staring at me, gave me that empty stare, and then she just storms off and walks away from me. And then I said, I think that you may have narcissistic personality disorder. And then that's when she started to freak out and say, no, I'm not a narcissist. No, I'm not a narcissist. And then out of nowhere, was that look? So what I'm saying, guys, is that narcissists, they can't be accountable, and it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt, until someone gets figured out. And in that case, she was figured out, and then she knew then that her games were up, that her time was up, and that she couldn't play those games on me anymore because I figured it out. And so what I'm saying is that narcissists, they love to pick and choose what it is that they want to remember and hear to control their victims, right? They like to pick and choose what they want to hear to keep their victims in check, to keep them in line, like servants. Right? Narcissists treat people like servants, like we owe them something, right? When really we don't owe them anything. In fact, we don't owe anybody anything, right? Because we came into this world with nothing, and we're gonna in effect leave this world with nothing, right? Because that's just how it goes, right? We're here today, we're gone tomorrow, right? People remember who we are, and then they don't remember who we are, right? So that's just how, that's just a natural circle of life. But see, narcissists are in their own fantasy world where they're the center of that world, and everything has to revolve around them, right? Everybody has to do what they say and give them what they want when they want. And then once they get those things from those people, they no longer want it anymore. That's why they discard people. That's why they get rid of people. They destroy friendships. They destroy relationships. They destroy marriages. They destroy workplace relationships and people's lives in the workplace. That's why they do all these things, right? They do all these things because narcissists are unhappy with themselves, right? That's right. That's why they do the things that they do, right? They do these things because because they become a host for demons, because when they were younger, they 99% of the time, I'm going to say it, narcissists usually narcissists grew up in a household where there were both their parents or one of their parents was a narcissist, right? And it was a learned behavior from when they were children that they don't need to, that there are no consequences to the things that they do, right? And that was from their narcissistic parent, whether it was a narcissistic mother or a narcissistic father, one or both of them, teamed up and they taught their children or their child that that they can do whatever they want, that they can manipulate people to get what they want, that they can gaslight and confuse people to get what they want, that they can choose what they want to remember for this time, and then when then later on they can bring it back up, and then they can make that person feel confused because that's not what happened, right? See, narcissists, they do this all the time because it makes them happy. They get pleasure from seeing other people in pain. They get pleasure from seeing people, be confused. They get pleasure from lying to somebody's face when in reality they know exactly what happened, right? Narcissists know this, right? And they do this all the time, right? Because they believe that that it makes them feel like they're better than everybody else. But narcissists, here's the thing that's very strange about narcissists. Narcissists know that they're not better than everyone else. Narcissists know that people are good people, but they need to make it seem as though those people are bad people, right? And it's weird and it's twisted because if they know that they're a good person, why would they want to destroy a good person's life that wanted nothing but good things for them? Well, it's because narcissists, because all their life they've done so many bad things, they become a host for demons to attach to them, right? And once those demons attach to them, right, narcissists believe that they don't need to get help, to get rid of those demons, right? They believe that they're doing nothing wrong, right? Because in their minds, they're perfect, right? In the narcissist mind, like Narcissus, when he hated everybody, when he couldn't take criticism from anybody, and he stared at himself in a pond, and then he didn't eat, he didn't drink, he didn't do anything different for days, and then he drops in that pond and he died, right? That's because that's because he thought of himself as perfect. And it's the same with the narcissist. And narcissists eventually, some of them hit a point where they actually kill themselves, right? They kill themselves, they commit suicide because they never wanted to get help for all the things that they were dealing with, because again, narcissists believe that they don't need help. They believe that they're better than everyone else. They believe everybody else needs help, right? When that's not the truth. That's all a lie. That's a lie that they made up in their mind. Narcissists thrive off of lies, right? Because lies, that when narcissists lie, and they lie so cleverly and they lie so habitually, right? They believe they lie so habitually that they believe their own lies, right? And they lie about things that don't even require lying, right? Because narcissists lie and makes them happy, right? So just know that when you're dealing with somebody, when you're dealing with a narcissist, and they're using their selective memory on you, and they're using their selective hearing on you, when they're choosing not to hear what you have to say, when you're calling their name, and then they say, "Oh, I didn't hear you," when you said their name like 20 times, and they say, "I didn't hear you," they know that they heard you. They heard you. But the thing is that they just want to pretend as though they didn't hear you, and that's what they do. Right? They pretend. Narcissists love to pretend. They live a pretentious life where everything about them is fake. Right? That's why they need to steal people's identities. That's why they need to, make it seem as though they can take everything from people and leave them with absolutely nothing. That's why they do these things, right? Because it makes them happy. They get a rush from it, believe it or not. And I know it's disgusting. It sounds very disturbing, but it's true. They get a rush from creating destruction and doing all those things, right? So you deal with that by just disengaging, saying what you have to say, and then disengage. Just don't have anything to do with that, and you will know that you're dealing with a narcissist that's having a selective memory on you, right? You will know it because you know that you told them that, you took notes, and you have everything down on paper, or maybe you even recorded them, and then you bring it to their attention and say, "Oh, that wasn't me," when they know that it was them, but they're just trying to gaslight you so that you doubt yourself. Or when they choose not to hear, when they know that they heard you, right? All you do is say your part, and then you just disengage from them, have nothing to do with them, right? Because they're doing all of this on purpose. because they know exactly what it is that they're doing, right? So you disengage. You say your piece, you disengage, you walk away and say, you know what? I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to let you, continue to gaslight me and make me feel less than and do this on purpose. I'm not going to deal with this. I've seen this one too many times where you constantly gaslight me, you constantly make me feel less than. I'm just going to walk away and have nothing to do with it because I don't have time for this. And then the narcissist is gonna try and re-love bomb. See, narcissists, you have to remember, they're in this loop all the time. They do this all the time, right? That's all they know how to do. And if you pay attention and pay very close attention, you will know that that's all they can do, right? They're stuck in that all the time, right? So when you walk away, then the narcissist, the first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna try to re-love bomb you. They're gonna start saying, "Oh, how much I love you. Oh, I care about you. It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay." They say all these things, and then they try to re-love bomb you in. And then once you take the bait and say, okay, you know what, maybe I'll give you another chance. And then they run you through the devaluation stage, and then they devalue you, and then they say how much of a pathetic person you are if they're a grandiose narcissist, or they try to make it seem as though they make you feel less than. They start yelling and screaming at you. Maybe they punch a wall if they're a malignant narcissist, right? Now they're devaluing you, and then they discard you again. They throw you away again, and then they try to check on you to ask you if you're okay. So see, they do all this nonsense, and it's a constant loop of nonsense that they continue to do, right? Once you decide that you want nothing to do with it. Right? So just be prepared for that as well. So when they try to re-love bomb you again, you disengage. You want nothing to do with it. You just ignore them, right? Because then that's gonna make them go crazy. They're gonna go crazy. But what I would say, if it's a malignant narcissist, if you disengage with them, make sure you do it strategically, right? Make sure that you have your backups. You talk to your peoples and say, I feel unsafe. You talk to the authorities, let them know what you're dealing with, and then you get yourself escorted out safely. That is when they decide to leave. You do it strategically, right? And you be smart. Otherwise, if you're dealing with the coverts or the paranoid or the grandiose or whatever you're doing with those ones, then you make sure that you protect yourself. You make sure you disengage. You stay silent, right? Don't use your silence, to protect you, right? Because when you don't give them anything, when you stay silent, the most they can do is just go crazy, right? And you maintain that silence. Don't break away from that silence, right? Don't try to, prove something to them that they're not going to be willing to listen to. And that's actually another video I'm going to make. Stop trying to explain to people that just want to misunderstand you, right? Because a narcissist, they want to misunderstand you. They constantly want to, right? Because then when they misunderstand you, when they know in fact that they do, then it gives them supply. Again, narcissists thrive off of supply. They need supply to feel important. They need supply to be able to abuse their victims constantly, right? So when somebody's trying to play games with you, don't engage with it, right? Because they know what they're doing. 99% of the time, they know that they're playing games with you, right? And you don't want to engage with any of that. It's a waste of your time, and you're not making it any better. And the narcissist knows this. They know they're wasting your time because they need somebody to abuse. They need somebody to manipulate. They need someone to gaslight. They need someone to smear campaign. They need somebody to object constancy, meaning, they need somebody to abuse because they're so ungrateful. Narcissists, they need to do all these things, right? Because it makes them happy. And that's all they know. All they know is love bomb, devaluation, discard, hoover. That's all they know, because it's what they practice all their life, right? And they do this to many people, and they know inside their clever, devious minds that many people will never figure this out, right? That's why they do this to people, right? So just be aware of that, right? When they're being selective in their memories, choosing what they want to remember, and just picking out things that they want to hear, even though you said, you sent them, you were being heartfelt with them, and they choose not to hear you. Just know that that's them, and it has nothing to do with you. Okay? All right. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Narcissism 101, Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. If you would like a one-on-one session, please email me, paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or send a text message again to 647-406-3057. Again, if you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out if you're dealing with a narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to help you. Like the video, subscribe, share it with somebody. If you have any suggestions or if you have any questions, you can comment below. There's a link that I put that's at the bottom of the videos to a podcast I spoke on about my narcissistic experience. Please check out the two links. There's part 1 and part 2. I think you guys will really enjoy it. I think you guys will really enjoy my experience. And thank you so much, guys, for joining me, especially if you're new. Thank you so much for all the newcomers. Please share this video with somebody who you think could be dealing with somebody like this, who's, selecting, from their memory what they want to remember and what they want to hear from their selective hearing. Please feel free to send this video to them so that more and more people can see these videos and that YouTube's algorithm rather can get this content out there so that more and more people can get it for themselves. So thank you so much, guys, for being here again. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you on the next video again. Thank you so much.